Hey guys, welcome back and welcome to our first official day of fall cleanup, which is actually a day I weirdly look forward to because it's that transition from summer to fall where things almost feel like they need a refresh. It's almost like getting a haircut, right? After a long season, and you go get your haircut and you just feel fresh and clean and manicured. And that's how I feel about fall garden cleanup. There's definitely things on my checklist that I like to get done now versus springtime, just because when spring comes around, things are so like go, go, go that you really don't have, or at least I don't like to take the time to do a lot of cleanup during that season of the year. So I do like to do the bulk of my cleanup right now, but there are some rules that I like to follow in terms of what to cut back, what to clean up. And because we have a lot of upcoming projects in the garden, I have to get things cleaned up. And that really helps me to see how the garden looks without all of the bedding annuals and things like that. So we can get a better idea of exactly what we're going to be planting during these garden projects that we have coming up. Our main focus is going to be in these two front beds here. And once we get things lifted, you will see how drastically different this garden bed is going to look. We're also going to be tackling the center island here with all of the beautiful trees and the hydrangeas. But this bed and then the bed right behind me, which I'll show you in a second, is really the one that I want to focus on and come in and start lifting up all of our bedding annuals. You can see they are pretty tired. They are done. There's a little bit of color, so it does hurt a little bit to lift them, but it needs to be done. We live in the Pacific Northwest, which means it's very wet for us here during the fall time. If you guys are local, you know what I'm talking about. So we do have rain on the forecast for the next, I think, week, maybe 10 days, and the temperatures are going to drop, which means these annuals are going to be a mess. I mean, it's just going to be a slop kebab of a garden if I don't lift these up. And I would rather pull them a couple of days early than to really wait till things are sogging and gross and wet, because it's just a lot messier for me. And I do most of the cleanup on my own. So I want to do it on a nice dry day where I actually get to enjoy what I'm doing. So that's number one. We have to lift up our summer bedding annuals. So that is the number one task I like to do during the fall time. Second is pruning back certain perennials. The things I do cut back in terms of perennials are things like hostas, daylilies, peonies, irises, or any of the perennials that turn mushy or diseased during fall and winter time. Now our hostas over here look pretty good. You can see they have plenty of color on them. We have others in the back in our containers that are yellowing, so those are pretty much done for the season. But for these hostas, I might tackle that one back there. But for the other ones, I will leave those up until they really start yellowing and get a little bit more far along the season. But these look pretty good, so we will pass over those and leave those behind. Not all things need a haircut. In fact, some things deserve a winter crown. So things like ornamental grasses, rudbeckia, echinacea, sedums, all of those I will leave behind because they will add that beautiful structure in the wintertime in our gardens. And it also provides food for wildlife. Like the birds love to snack on echinacea seed heads. So those I tend to leave up for as long as I can until I see that the birds have really gone after them. There's really not a ton back. Then I can come back and start cutting those back. But really, I usually leave those in the wintertime, and then I'll maybe come in late winter, early spring when I start to see more growth coming through, and then I'll cut those back. So that's task number 2 for fall garden maintenance. Task number 3 is to rake and compost leaves. Now you can use fallen leaves to create leaf mulch or compost instead of bagging them up, which is something that a lot of gardeners like to do. In fact, some people will just let things create a nice layer in the garden. If you have a way to cut it up and then put it back into your garden, that's even better because you're going to help break up those leaves even further. So instead of leaving them whole like that, if there's a way for you to mulch them, cut them up and then put them back, that is going to be fantastic. A layer of shredded leaves is like nature's blanket for your garden. I lean more on raking things up and lifting things up just because, again, it's so wet here and we have a major slug issue. So they love to hide in those between those leaves and under them. So it gets kind of gross for us here. So what I like to do instead is come in with a nice layer of compost. So I'm going to assess how everything looks, and the compost can really come now or a little bit later. It depends on how the garden garden is looking. So that is also something that you can do if you are somebody who doesn't want to leave the leaves behind. You can always come in with a nice fresh layer of compost that's going to feed your garden, and it's going to really prep it for springtime. So that is another task you can add to your list. A fall task number 4 is going to be to prune or shape some of your trees and shrubs. I don't do major pruning on our trees this time of year, but if I see anything that's dead or diseased, I will go ahead and prune that. And then we lean on our heavy pruning schedule really like late winter, springtime. And that's when we have Eduardo come in and he will prune things like our atlas, all of our Japanese maple, our pine, our shishigashira. So like anything like that we leave for later on. But if I'm in here cleaning things up and I see things that look a little bit distressed, I will go ahead and just prune that back right now as well. But no major pruning needs to happen right now. Now, there are a few other fall tasks for your garden, and that's things like planting bulbs, which we will do once it gets a little bit cooler. Still feels kind of warm and early to do that for us here. But I have started already in the planting strip. You guys know we planted some bulbs there together, but I have a ton to plant out into the garden. So we'll kind of do that in stages. This is also a good time to divide and replant perennials. If you are somebody that likes free plants, I promise you dividing things like echinacea, rudbeckias, hostas, peonies, this is the best time to do it. So if you have anything in your garden that's looking a little bit cluttered or a little bit tight, or you just kind of need to break up those plants a little bit because they're taking up more size than you want them to, then this is a really good time to divide some of those perennials. We've done videos, which I'll link down below in the description box. We'll probably divide some of our rudbeckias here in the front at some point. I'm going to wait probably a couple more weeks and then I might come in and divide those, because again, we are going to be redoing several things in our garden out here as well. So that's one of the things that I might need to shift a little bit. And lastly, you can also take this time to start lifting up tender perennials. So if you have things like begonias in your garden, I know there are some gardeners out there that will actually plant indoor begonias outside because they do so well, but now's the time to lift them up and put them in the greenhouse or bring them in to just make sure that they're protected, because they won't last outside in the winter time. So depending on your zone, a lot of those things can be tender this time of year if they're left outside. So just keep that in mind if you do want to save them for next year to plant out into your garden in the springtime. One of the things I like to come in and do is cut back some of our geraniums and propagate them. Last year I did this and I left it out on accident, and we went to Brazil and I completely forgot about them, so I didn't make it. So I'm hoping this year, especially with these scented geraniums, they smell delicious. Instead of having to buy them every year, I want to see if I can take some cuttings, propagate them, and then just leave them indoors during winter time, and then we'll have more to plant out into the garden. These are still pretty good for now. We don't have a hard killing frost for a while, so I'll probably leave those just to have a little bit of structure in the garden, and then we'll come in and start take cuttings as we get closer to those lower temperatures. All right, now's the fun part. I'm just gonna grab some gloves, set you guys up. You guys know the drill. We'll just jump right in. Well, here's the upside of doing a fall cleanup and moving plants around, or having plans to move a plant around. We just harvested a bunch of our little lime hydrangeas. I love cutting these during the fall time because they will last for such a long time. I will just pop these in a vase with like an inch of water and they'll dry beautifully. Great for a long-term dry arrangement. Or you can also use it for like wreaths, any fall decoration, even winter decoration. It's always fun to have extra blooms like this this time of year. All right, here is what we've done so far. You can see what a huge difference that makes. I was very sad, I won't lie, cutting down and removing some of those bedding annuals. Sergey came on, he was like, I love it. I feel like I can breathe again. And I told him like, yes, I agree, but it's also, I don't know, it just feels so empty right now. It's just crazy to me what annuals do for our garden. It's absolutely incredible. I did leave up our dahlias, especially this one. This is Hapat. Old Charm, and I planted it super late, so I'm just trying to give it as much time as I can in the ground. In fact, I should probably cut it down and just let it focus on tuber production, but I just want to see one bloom if it'll make it before our frost. And then there are some other random ones here. This is one that I grew from a seed, and it's a red one, which you guys know how I feel about red dahlias. And red flowers in general. I love them, but I don't know, but there's something about this one that's really special. So I'm going to keep it and have it for next year. We will tackle this another day because this is going to be another big project that we're actually going to be working on here quick. And this is, again, part of why I need to get the garden cleaned up, because we have projects lined up and I need to move these things out in order for us to begin those. I think knowing that we have projects coming up, I feel better about ripping some of these things out, because I know we're going to replace them with beautiful plants and just move some things around in our garden. So that keeps me happy and excited and not too sad. As you saw, I did cut back our little lime hydrangeas only because we are going to be moving these. So I didn't want to leave any of the flowers on because we are going to move them here soon. Typically, I would recommend you wait to do it in late winter, springtime. However, like I said, because we are going to move them, I just had to make sure we cut them down. I didn't get all of the debris out, but Sergey will come in and mow everything. So when he comes in, I will scooch some of these other things out of here. But look at all of the space that we're going to have to plant up this bed, which I'm very excited about because we do want to move some things around. We even thought about moving this pine, this Louis pine right here on the very right. I don't know if I want to. Sergey's like, it's really, I don't know. We were kind of on the edge when we planted it, like if this was the right home for it. I love it because it turns into this beautiful yellow and it's just such a great pine, I think. And the needles are nice and soft, so I like the texture of it. However, I don't mind moving it and doing something else over here as well. I'm always somebody that I'm up for change. I get bored easily, so I don't mind moving some of our trees around like that. Now, if we come back this way, I did leave a couple of the cosmos just because I saw a couple of bees buzzing around, and that is something that we're very conscious of when we're removing some of our annuals. If I see a lot of pollinator action, I wait as long as I can. Down here, or up here I should say, we don't really have too many pollinators here. Like the cut flower garden is still buzzing with bees. Right here it's slowed down. I did see a few bees, but not enough to say we have to wait. So the cosmos should hold them up until we get a frost. And then we also have some random little flowers throughout that they can get pollen off of. And then again in the back, there's a ton for them to forage on. Anyways, those annuals came up actually really easily, which is very nice because I thought for sure I was going to have to wrestle some of those roots out because they got massive. You guys saw how big those annuals got, but they actually came out rather easily. The smoke bush is still going to be moved out. I'll probably cut this back. I might cut it back now because this looks, this was bad. I cut this like midway and it just doesn't look very pretty. So I might just leave it for a little bit longer until we get closer to moving it, and then we will start shaping this up a little bit more before we transplant it. We're thinking it's going to go into the side garden, so I'm just gonna leave it as is for now. And then again, with the geraniums, I left them because I wanna see if I can take cuttings from them. Our grasses in this bed, we will leave until later to cut them back. So we don't typically cut ornamental grasses this time of year, we'll leave them. And then again, once we get the frost, I'll remove the cosmos because they'll be done. And then our dahlias too. This is one of mine that I'm also growing. She's gorgeous. I love her. So I think now what we'll do is come in and start removing some of these annuals here. Definitely the verbena. I have to get in there and see what's going on with our pineapple lilies. I might just leave the delphinium up for a little bit longer, and then the rudbeckias will probably just leave it alone for now. I just really want to get in here. Look at all of this business, this mess. These are pineapple lilies, and I just want to cut them back. I've left them for long enough. I just want to, I'm like eager to get in there. So let's go ahead and get this area cleaned up. Holy moly, this is a mess. Okay, let's get the flowers out. Keep those. I don't like this part because I know there's going to be slugs in here. I can just tell that they're in here. Okay. And voila, we got this side done, and it's looking so much better than it did before. I agree with Sergey that it feels like the garden can breathe. We can breathe a little bit. It's nice to see some more open area, and removing those pineapple lilies, I'll tell you what, that makes such a difference when you're walking here close to this garden bed. You just don't see that jumbled mess of fallen leaves everywhere. It's just nice to pick it up. I do want to come in and do a tidier job. This is usually like the first go around of our fall cleanup, and then we'll come in and be a little bit more meticulous. But for the most part, everything is looking really good. Now I have 3 yard debris bins full, so I think I'm going to call it a day. I still need to come in and remove these annuals here, but it's funny because these are still providing a bit of color to the garden. And I think these are looking better just because it's being shaded and protected by this maple here. So this swoop will also change up quite a bit once we remove all of these plants, and we'll be able to see a little bit better how things are looking. And this bed is also going to go under some changes as well. Probably pretty soon, but definitely in the springtime, we'll come in and just rethink all of the shrubs and things that we have in this bed right here. And if I swing back around, you'll just see that you're able to see through the garden a little bit better. It might be a little bit difficult through the camera, but when you're actually here in person, you don't see all of those fallen pineapple lilies. And then of course the verbena was just really getting unruly and out of control. And I liked it for a while until it started to get powdery mildew, and I was like, all right, it's time to lift you up, because I wasn't going to spend any time spraying anything down. This bed is looking a lot better, and of course right behind us, these 2 beds are also looking so much better. I'm so excited to move the smoke bush, because I think that will also help me have a clear vision of what we want to change up in this section of this bed versus the swoop around and what we're going to be doing right around the corner over there. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed some of my tips and tricks for fall garden cleanup. It's always nice again to come out and start getting these things done, especially for me because I don't like to work when it's like super wet and raining. I don't mind the rain, but it's being cold that I don't love. And so it's nice to just come out and get some of these things done on a beautiful, dry October day. Like, it truly is such a blessing to have this weather right now, this time of year for us here in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm just like super, super happy with this month and how everything has looked and done. I am excited to tackle the back next. There's definitely going to be a lot of cleanup coming up, especially with our cut flower garden. That's always a major cleanup for us, especially with the dahlias and lifting all of them. And so we're just taking it one day at a time and enjoying the whole process along the way. Anyways, I love to do this type of work in the garden, just really getting in there and like digging things up or planting things. Like, that's the type of work that I enjoy the most in the garden, is feeling like you've really accomplished a lot. And I feel like we did a lot today, and I wasn't rushed, which was really nice. I just really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. It was just a nice, relaxing time in the garden. I hope your guys' fall garden cleanup is going well. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.